everyone, Sidney St. James. And as you can see, I'm getting ready to go play some pickleball. But in the meanwhile, stay tuned for the next episode of So You Want to Be an Author. Hello everyone, Sidney St. James with another episode in our journey of becoming a first-time author. Have you ever heard the saying, people say, don't judge a book by its cover? But that statement carries no weight in my entire journey of becoming an author because it's simply not true. As a matter of fact, most people do give a lot of weight in deciding to read a book by the cover at the very start. What is that? Oh, thank you. You noticed my new hat. This hat has a story behind it. I got this hat out in Marble Falls at a book signing when I released the book, The Rose of Bray's Bayou. And I just decided to wear it. Maybe it's going to be a new brand thing with me. I don't know. But anyhow, I listen to a lot of people say, you spent an entire year or two writing your book. Don't go and ruin it by trying to do it yourself. Get a designer, somebody that really knows what they're doing, and have them do it. That, my friends, is exactly where I was 15 years ago. Trying to learn how to do a book cover for Adversity, Keeping the Faith, my very first novel I ever wrote, and simply gave up and paid a designer to make it. But today, 50 novels later, I can honestly say with complete integrity that this is no longer true. First, it is true that people will judge your book on the initial onset by just the cover. But if you hear designers wanting to sell their designing the book cover for you and all the reasons why you should do that, I simply have one word for that, and that's hogwash. In today's episode, I have a new murder mystery that I've written, and it's part of my Whodunit series. And the name of it is Checkmate. I'm almost through with all of my editing process, and it just so happened to coincide with my doing this tutorial on becoming an author. And I'm close to needing a book cover. So, today, what I'm going to do is share with you from the very start to the finish, after trying numerous applications, the by far best software application for you yourself to design a professional book cover. So, don't go anywhere, as I'll be right back after setting up for my tutorial for this review. And again, thanks today for joining me. So you want to be an author, huh? Well, we'll be right back. Okay, well, we're back. And we're back to show you today how to create a professional book cover. And in today's episode, there are 3 covers, but only one we're going to take care of first. And then we'll follow that up with 2 more episodes, and we'll show you how to create all 3 of your book covers, the eBook, the paperback, and the audiobook. And those will be coming up in the next one. But here on the screen, from what you can see, is a program that I use. It's called BookBrush. And in BookBrush, you'll see up here, box set creator, cover, trailer, custom, instant mock-ups. All of these are great options in the program. But for the sake of this broadcast, what we're going to do, we're going to take my 12th to 13th mystery novel, crime mystery, with my detective that I invented, Vincent James Gideon. And it's almost ready. The editing's almost finished. And I want to go ahead and show you how I actually go into this program and create very easily a professional book cover. So it's called bookbrush.com. like any program that you might use, download it. And I think it's free for about the first 30 days. So you can test it out. And if you continue your writing after you get this first book published, then you'll know where to go. And you may want to go ahead and get all their bells and whistles because they're all fantastic. So I'm going to click on Cover Creator. My computer is much slower than probably a lot of yours. And anyhow, this screen right here will pull up. And if you'll notice on the left, eBook, print book, and audiobook. I'm going to talk on the next two books here in the following episodes, 7 and 8. But for this episode, we're going to concentrate on eBook. Click on eBook. Down here, they'll give you different options of different formats of different books. But for the purpose of this broadcast, I would have to say that I always use Kindle. And Kindle works for me if I'm doing Apple books or if I'm doing Barnes & Noble books or whoever I'm doing. So just click on Kindle and that'll take care of all the different platforms that your book will get published to, if it's for Nook or whatever. So in the middle of your screen, you're going to see a blank screen here. And that's my Kindle blank screen. Now let's turn this blank screen into a professional book cover for the new Vincent James Gideon novel that I'm writing. So I'm going to come over here to the far left. If you see templates. Now I could put my own background in, and I do that a lot because I don't know, just in everything that I do, I like to design everything myself. But for the sake of this broadcast, and for you trying to get that first book published, take advantage because I haven't found any program out there that has more templates in it than this one. On the left, you'll see type. We're working on an ebook, right? And then I'm going to come down here to genre. Since this is a mystery or a crime mystery, I think I'm going to click on mystery and crime. Now, this will get me all the templates that are just associated with crime and mystery. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to find a template that can demonstrate to the reader what the book is about. It's either a romance, or it's a crime, or it's fantasy, or science fiction. But you don't necessarily have to pick a template that matches a scene from inside your book. What you want to do is pick a template that covers the overall book. What is the genre? So I'm going to look over here at my screen and talk to you a little bit about this. In these different templates that you see here, I'm looking for a template that I like. All these are mystery or crime, undercover, and now there are 98 of these templates. But as I'm going down, I don't necessarily want to continue with it, but I'll tell you what, I'll do that for the sake of this broadcast. So you can see this is templates 21 through 40, all the remarkable, professional looking book covers that you can turn into your book cover. But I saw one right here in the previous templates that I really liked, and it talks about the genre. Here it is, The Rising Tide. Now, the reason that I'm selecting this one is I look at the colors, I look at the darkness that surrounds the fella that's walking right down the middle here, and he's got a gun in his hand. And it's dark and dreary, he's walking into a building. This kind of, to me, demonstrates mystery. It also demonstrates possibly crime. I like this. Now, let's turn this template, which is already done for us, into my own book, in this case, Checkmate. One that I'm wrapping up now with my editing and will soon publish. So I'm going to click on this. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I've got to work with all what you see here. I've got to change this up. Now, taking this whole thing, you notice there's a little line that goes across. Down here is a line, and down here. I'm going to come up to the rising tide, I'm going to double click that. Now over on the left is all the parameters associated with the rising tide. First of all, let's start at the top. We don't want to use rising tide. Now the name of my novel is Checkmate. Now I've got Checkmate in there, but the problem is on the document, Checkmate is too wide. So right below that, this is very self-explanatory here. If I want to bold it or whatever I might want to do to it, here is the size of that particular font. So I'm going to change it so it fits on the screen. Let's make it an 80 and see what that does. I like 80. So that's too high up on my book page, in my opinion. Now, this is all my opinion. That's why it's so much fun when we design book covers. When you design yours, you can do the same thing until you like where it's at. But I'm going to move it down on my book, on my page, just a little bit. Now, I'll double-click Checkmate again, pull up the window on the left, and now you notice this is the font, Bibus Neue. However way that you pronounce it, right? But I don't like that. I'm going to change it. Let's try Bangers. See how it changes the name on the screen right away? So I just fixed Bangers. I think I'm going to stay with that. I kind of like that font. I like the size of 80. I don't necessarily like the color, so I'm going to click on yellow because that's the text color. I'm going to try red. No, let's try red. Okay, there we go. I like red. And let's give it a... Right here, my text shadow is black, but I think I want to make it white. That way, aha. Now, see what that did for Checkmate? It threw a white glow behind the letters, so Checkmate shows up more. Again, this is all personal preference. This is you designing your book cover to where you sit back and, like I'm doing, and you're looking at the book cover and say, I like that, or I don't like that, and change it up. So now I have Checkmate. Now, in other episodes, I'll talk about this, but there's lots of ways to get your book discovered. And one of those ways is the metafile, the properties associated with that book cover. And in that, when you sign up for your ISBN, which is free with Draft to Digital, which I'll talk about them later, the subtitle to this. The subtitle will carry the name, as I told you before, this is the 13th novel about Vincent James Gideon. So I'm going to come over here, and where you see on the left, add new text box. I click that. Now on the screen, you see add text here. I'm going to double click that, come back to the left, and I'm going to type in here a Vincent James Gideon novel. I just thought of something. I guess you heard my computer clicking here. I am lucky. It started out as just fun in college. And for 2 of my freshman and sophomore years, I took typing 101 and 102. And I had no idea how it was just a fun class because there were 30 girls and I was the only guy in there. Well, I took the class, everything was fine, and I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, you know, growing up, so to speak. But anyhow, in later life, I found that typing almost 100 words a minute. A lot of people wish they could type 30 words a minute. It comes in so handy because when I'm sitting here on the computer keyboard and I've got this story in my mind and I know what's happening in this chapter, I'm typing 100 words a minute. And that helps me. But in this case, I just want to tell you why you're hearing all this clicking going on in the background. But right now, Vincent James Gideon, I got off the subject, I know, but it's too big. So we come back over here. We're going to change this to 40. Still too big. Let's go to 30. Now we're getting close. So we're going to put this about right there. Now I'm holding my left mouse button down and dragging. So I'm going to drag that there and that there. Okay. Now let's see. I think in reference to the title that that's too big. So I'm double clicking it. I'm coming back over to my font size over here on the left side. And in that font size, I'm going to change it to 24. Now I'm kind of liking the size of the lettering. So I'll move it around. A Vincent James Gideon novel. Okay. I like the title. I like the graphics that are there. They're mystery. Now let's move down to the bottom of this particular book cover. It says a New York Times best-selling novel. Well, I'm going to double click that and come over to the left, and I'm going to highlight that because I don't want it. I'm going to put in here book, I think it's 13. The Whodunit series. Now, I would like to have that bolded, so I'm going to click on bold, and there you go. Now, as far as the author, you type your name in here. Now, in my case, and I've told you this before, but I don't like my titles and so forth to go on 2 lines. I like to keep them on 1. So what do I do with Sidney St. James here at the bottom? I come over to my fonts, and I'm going to try a 36. 36 happens to be bingo. Fits in there. As you notice, I'm a little bit away from the side here. Not so important on an electronic book cover where it's located, but when we get to in the next broadcast and talk about the paperback book, this becomes very important because you don't want it off because their cutting blade, when they cut these book covers, cuts in about 1/8 of an inch or so. And it can actually cut your name off if you don't keep it in from the sides. So I have this in on the side. I also want to do a bold on my name, Sidney St. James. Okay. So now we have a book cover, electronic book cover. Checkmate's the name of my book. It's a Vincent James Gideon novel, which is the subtitle. Book 13 of the Whodunit series, and Sidney St. James. Now, book covers can change. And I found this out a little bit too late, but I'm telling you now, as you publish your first novel, how important something is. People need to discover you. If this is your first novel, you're not Stephen King, you're not J.D. Robb, you're not a lot of different artists who have a great following and sell hundreds of thousands of books. You're not now, but you will be. If you really enjoy writing, you will be that best-selling author. And what you want to do is you want to put, and this, I keep going back to this metaphile. There's so many search engines out there with YouTube and Google and Apple Books, and they all have search engines out there. Goodreads. But in these search engines, they're looking for the hidden metaphile. And when you sign up an ISBN number, it has to match what your book cover says. Checkmate. A Vincent James Gideon novel. Now, those who read my books and like my crime books and my mystery books know about Vincent James Gideon. This being the 13th book in the series, and it says Vincent James Gideon novel, they right away know that it's about a detective, and they've read him before, and they like the detective and how he carries himself in the book, and so they buy the book because it says Vincent James Gideon. But if you don't put enough hooks in that book cover to grab people, let people see what it's about, you can always go back and change your book cover. That's not a problem. But what you put on that screen, you can't go back and change that, which means you can change your book cover almost at the snap of a finger. But you can't go add a Vincent James Gideon novel to that book cover at a later date. So you must be sure that you get the words, not only to search the genre, but it has, people can find your books. If they like Vincent James Gideon, they can search Gideon and boom, this novel will pop up. But if you don't have it in the subtitle, Vincent James Gideon would never pull up. And anything you can do to better being found, the better, so to speak. So anyhow, this is a Vincent James Gideon novel, book 13. Now, there's one thing we're going to do. We're going to switch over. Let's see if I can find this right up here. This is what you do with your novel when you're through. Click on download. And if you notice, you have 3 different downloads you can do of this book cover. PNG format, JPG, JPEG, or PDF. I prefer pretty much PNG in anything that I do. PNG files, you can actually put background removed from different objects or different graphics, and it works so good. JPEG doesn't let you do that. So in this case, we're going to download this as a PNG. So I'm going to click. In this screen, you will notice that it's preparing to download. Now, this is BookBrush's way of saving this document. Now, I can, up here at the top, I can save it in BookBrush, so I can go back and grab it later, or I can save it to my computer. So I'm going to click on Save to Computer. Now, okay, here we are. The program I'm using for my graphics program is Corel Paint Shop Pro. You may have another one out there. But in case of this, on the screen here is my novel. That I've written the novel, I've got my book cover, and I'm looking at the book cover and I'm looking at it thinking, you know, I think I want it a little bit darker around the building. It just adds to the nighttime being more darker, more mysterious. I like Checkmate to be a little more vivid in color than what it is there. So let me come up here. Now, your program is different than mine, but it basically do the same thing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to adjust, let the computer kind of do some adjustment first. So adjust the picture. Now you're looking at both pictures. And if you look at this area here versus here, you notice it's blacker on what the computer thinks, but I still like it to be blacker. So I'm going to come over to my blackness, and I'm going to click on it and drag it a little bit to the right. There we go. Now, take a look how everything shows up on the right versus the left. Now, this isn't something I teach you how to do. This is something, whatever program you have to adjust your colors, your saturation, your vividness or vibrancy, as they call it. Now, I'm going to come in here and I want to enhance Checkmate. I can do that with saturation. I'm going to saturate that red a little bit more. So let's try that. There we go. Now, I'm going to hit OK. I kind of like what I'm seeing. So there is my book cover, Checkmate, a Vincent James Gideon novel. It looks like it's professionally done. And in my career, for the first 12 or so novels, I had a designer come in. In almost every case, the designer charged me anywhere from $500 to $700. And that's $500 to $700 that I saved from the first dozen books that I wrote. And there's a lot of things that go along with not just the designing, because before I started Bebop Publishing Group, I used 2 or 3 different publishers from Canada, a couple down here in the States, and the amount of money that they charged to get each book published and out there. And then they had the exclusivity on it, which means I couldn't go in and change book covers. I couldn't change my graphics. I couldn't do anything. And they were totally in control of all the marketing, which they didn't do. So here, you're going to save money right up the first, because I told you could do this free, and I hope that you're enjoying how easy it is to design your book cover. So now that I've got this, I'm going to click on File, click on Save As. I'm going to come over here and say, just a minute, master cover, checkmate, and then save it. Now my book cover is saved. Then we come back, and I can close this out now, this window here in BookBrush, because I'm through. I've got this novel created, and I'm going to click the X over here. That will close me out, and that will bring me back to the novel that I've created, the novel cover. Now over here in Tools, Cover Creator, I'm going to leave the eBook Cover Creator, okay? By clicking on Tools, Cover Creator, and say Leave. Now what this will do, and it should bring me back, and it does. So for today, that concludes my episode in designing your own book cover, and in particular, your ebook cover. You can see how easy it is. And I'll come back in my next episode, and I will show you how to design a print book cover. So until then, happy listening, happy watching, and I appreciate you joining my channel. And if you look down here below, down there, there's a place for you to click on like. I appreciate you to let me know you like my channel. There's also a subscribe button. Please be sure to subscribe. And if there's anything else that you'd like to know more about in becoming that first-time author, be sure to leave it in the comments, because I look at the comments every day, and I'll try to find an answer to your question and produce another podcast that will help you with your question. So until then, see you later, alligator.